What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Twenties podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to reminding you of your God-given purpose through personal testimonies, trials, and personal revelations. I believe that God has called and created each and every single one of us with a purpose, for a purpose, but it is up to us to align with it. I'm your host, Louise, and I hope that you enjoy today's episode. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Twenties podcast. It's your girl, Louise. I know that I have been on sabbatical. I've been on a break. In the last episode that I left off with, I'm pretty sure y'all was probably like, girl, I'm pretty sure Louise is not coming back. Like, what's going on? What's going on? What's up? You disappeared. I really did disappear. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I really wanted to give up on this podcast. I wanted to give up on everything that God was telling me to do. I wanted to give up on life. I wanted to give up on my purpose. I wanted to give up on my dreams, my goals. I wanted to give up on everything simply because as much as I get on here and I try to encourage you guys, I try to remind you guys that God has created you with a purpose, for a purpose. Sometimes I also battle with understanding and remembering that myself. And so the enemy was really dealing with me. And in the midst of that, God was also dealing with me as well. And so I had to really take a step back and regroup and really understand who God was for me, what God needed me to do, and why God needed me to do what he needed me to do. And so I'm finally back. I hope that you guys did not miss me too much. I know I was like, yeah, I'm going to come back on my birthday, but yeah, that didn't even work out. But I definitely needed the time away that I had. And in the midst of all of the things that has happened, I have recently launched my book. I know I told you guys about that. I've been telling you guys about that the past few episodes. But I was launching my book, which is called Coming Into Womanhood. And I am so excited to say it has launched, guys. Coming Into Womanhood, a journey of healing, grief, and restoration. It's on Amazon. I will also include the link in the description of today's episode. You guys can also purchase it on my website starting next week. All my Twisted 20s family, you guys will receive a 10% off discount code, but it will be available on my website to purchase as well. I will be writing individual notes in the books as well. But just to kind of give you guys a description of what the book is, I'm going to read to you guys what the back of the book says. What if becoming the woman you were meant to be requires first being broken? And coming into womanhood, Louise takes you on a raw and powerful journey through the defining moments that shaped her life, from childhood trauma and the sudden loss of her mother to spiritual confusion, toxic friendships, addiction, and heartbreak. She searched for healing in all the wrong places until she encountered the unwavering peace and grace of God. This is not just a story of pain, it's a story of transformation. It's about reclaiming identity, walking away from counterfeit comforts, and discovering that the past does not disqualify you from your purpose. With unflinching honesty and deep spiritual insight, Louise shares what it truly means to surrender, be refined by God, and rise from the ashes of grief and sin to step boldly into the woman he has always called for her to be. Coming Into Womanhood is for every woman who has ever questioned her worth, carried the weight of childhood wounds, or wondered if it's too late to be made new. It's not. God still writes beautiful stories from broken pieces. Y'all, I poured my soul, my heart into this book. It's only, I think, 11 chapters. It's only 11 chapters. So there's 11 chapters. I also put some of my journal entries in here that I wrote during my time of grief, my intimate time with God. And so this is the first book of this series. This is a Coming Into Womanhood series, but this is going to be the first book of the series. And if you guys would like to get it, it is on Amazon. Once again, it will also be on my website as well, if you guys would like to order it directly from my website. It will be on there next week. But listen, launching and publishing the book, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't share it. I shared it on my birthday. I didn't share it with anybody other than my best friend, my spiritual mom, and of course Davion. Nobody knew that I was writing the book, like outside of them, outside of my little small circle. And so honestly, if I'm being honest with you, I didn't tell anyone because I wanted to not just prove to myself, but I wanted to prove to everyone else that I can accomplish the things that I set out to do. Something that I really have struggled with in the past, something that I still struggle with, is being consistent and doing what I say I'm going to do. And in the past, I would, share ahead of time, oh, your girl is doing this, I'm doing that. And then when I wouldn't accomplish it, I would feel like a failure. Not only would I feel like a failure, I would feel like everybody else who I shared with that I was going to do something also saw me as a failure. And so because of that, because I felt that way, I said, this time I'm not going to share what I'm doing. I'm just going to do it. And those who want to support me will support me. So that's a little bit of what I've been doing over the past couple weeks. I think it's been 2 months since I put out a episode. And honestly, I definitely needed the break. This is something I probably will consistently do because honestly, I have to look at Twisted 20s as a ministry. And because it is a ministry, just like pastors, just like prophets, my spiritual mom, who is also a prophet, she has to take monthly sabbaticals because doing what God has called us to do, sharing the word, sharing our experiences, sharing our testimonies, uplifting, encouraging, pouring into everyone, it takes a toll on you, sometimes mentally, spiritually, physically. And so sometimes we do have to step aside and regroup. And so that's something that I'm really learning that I need to do for myself, especially when I have so much going on in my life where sometimes it can be difficult for me to hear what God needs me to do. I want to share something with you guys that God shared with me in the midst of my prayer time. This was something that really encouraged me. This is something that, if I'm being honest, I'm hoping really sticks with me. I'm hoping that it really encourages me and helps me to stay grounded. And I'm hoping that it also will help me to stay consistent no matter what. Before I came back to the podcast, I was talking to God and I was crying out to God and I said, God, I'm nervous. And I said, God, I can't do this without you. And I would say, since God has instructed this to be a Christian podcast, I have not done this without God. God has always poured, the episode ideas into me and everything like that. But this time it felt different. And I felt like because I had been gone so long, because of all the different things. And I told God that I was afraid. And because I've allowed fear and doubt to control me for so long, it puts me in a place, or it has put me in a place, where it's difficult for me to surrender fully to God. Give God my full yes. Give God the full, control over situations. And because of that, I have been inconsistent with my podcast. And let me not even say inconsistent with my podcast, inconsistent with creating content for my podcast. Because one thing I have not done, I would say in the past 2 or 3 years, has been inconsistent with my podcast. My podcast comes out every single week. Even when I was sick, I had my best friend fill in for me. So that right there to me shows that, hey, I do want to do what God has called for me to do. But I personally am struggling with putting myself out there 100% wholeheartedly. And so I have to get to a place for me where I'm putting God's purpose, God's assignment, God's mission before my fear, before the doubt. And so in the midst of me expressing this to God, listen, Jesus was like, listen, little girl. Okay, it was one of them moments like, listen, little girl, like, you don't think I've ever felt this? God, and like literally I was like, oh, he finna eat me up. That's exactly what I thought. And Jesus was like, do you not think that I felt the doubt, the fear? I was literally begging God to take the cup away from me in the Garden of Gethsemane. And I hope I'm saying that right. Gethsemane, or y'all know what I'm trying to say, okay? I was literally begging for God to take this cup from me. The weight of sacrificing myself for the world, it caused me to be in such turmoil, such distress, that I literally started sweating blood. Do you not think that I don't know how you feel? And when Christ said that to me, I felt seen, I felt heard, but most importantly, I felt understood. And I was like, it's not to say that I've never felt that way. I didn't ever think that, Jesus or God would understand how I felt. But I think for the first time in my life, it actually clicked for me that he does understand me. And he understands what I'm going through. And because he understands what I'm going through, one, I can be vulnerable with him about how I feel. Two, I should be able to walk boldly and confidently and have the courage to complete whatever it is that he's called for me to do. And I feel like I sound like a broken record over and over and over and over again. I feel like I constantly have this conversation with myself. I constantly have this conversation with you guys. And I don't ever want it to get to a point where you guys feel like, girl, you saying the same thing every single time you come back. Every single time you come back from a sabbatical. Every single time you come back from a break. You saying the same thing. You saying the same thing. But I'm saying the same thing because I want you guys to understand that this is something that even though I get on here and I've encouraged you guys, this is something that I'm constantly dealing with, okay? But one thing that I'm learning, I will say, one thing that I'm learning, and just with my book, Coming Into Womanhood, one thing that I am learning as I'm coming into my womanhood, I turned 28 in July. I'm almost in my 30s, okay? Like, almost in my 30s. The 30s is like, oh, is that you coming up? Oh, like, that's how my 30s is. Like, I see you coming, and I'm like, mind your business, okay? But one thing that I'm learning coming into my womanhood journey is that I have to be willing to choose every day. Every day, I have to be willing to choose to say yes to God and the purpose and the will that he has for me. Every single day that my feet hit the ground, I have to say, yes, God, what do you need from me today? Yes, God, what do you need me to create today? Yes, God, what do you need me to read today? Yes, God, what do you need me to write today? Yes, God, what do you need me to tell your people today? I have to be willing to do that. As a follower of Christ, as a daughter of the King, as a woman of God, I have to be willing every single day to say yes to God. It is difficult. It is very difficult. Every day, the scripture tells us that we have to surrender. We have to surrender to the Spirit. The scripture also tells us that we, every day, we have to pick up our cross. We have to carry it. Every single day, we have to make a decision. Are we going to be obedient to God? Are we going to continue to be a follower of Christ? Are we going to surrender to God's will? Every single day, that is a decision that we have to make. That is a decision that I have constantly struggled with over the past 5 years. Over the past 6 years. I won't even say 5 to 6 years. I gave my life fully to Christ, 3 or 4 years ago? And I've always been in this place of trying to compromise with God. Well, God, I'm doing my podcast. That's enough. And God constantly tells me nobody's ever going to know about the great things that I'm doing through your podcast. No one's ever going to know about your book. I cannot make this up, y'all. I was literally sitting there looking at all the stacks of books because my spiritual mom sowed a seed into my life for me to be able to get my author copies for my book. And I was literally sitting there looking at the stack of books, and God was like, no one's ever going to know about your book if you don't put yourself out there. No one's ever going to know about your book if you are not courageous. If you don't let fear and doubt get out of the way. And I was just like, you ain't lying. But even in the midst of God telling me that, I still was fearful. I still had doubt. Y'all, I cannot make this up. There's other things that I want to tell you guys, but I'm not going to go into too much detail about today. I will most likely create a YouTube video as well, because I want to get back into YouTube as well, because like God told me, no one is ever going to know the gifts that I have put on the inside of you if you are not willing to be bold enough to share them with everybody. No one's ever going to know about my testimony. No one's ever going to know about my podcast. No one's ever going to know about the things that I'm sharing on here that God is giving me to share with people if I'm not putting myself in the forefront. If I'm not putting myself in a position to say yes 100%. And my compromise for God has been, well, as long as I do my podcast, I'll be okay. And God is saying, how are you expecting your podcast to go to the next level if you're not creating the content to go along with it? And for me, because I've been insecure, because I've been fearful, because I have been riddled with guilt, shame, doubt, because I've struggled with those things for so long, I've been delaying my own elevation. I've been delaying my own transformation. And so I'm finally back with Twisted 20s. And I'm not going to make you guys any promises. I'm not going to make any, statements saying, oh, you guys make sure you do this, and, make sure you subscribe to blah, 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 blah. And, I'm going to be doing this, because I can't tell you that I am. But what I can tell you is that each and every single day, I desire to get up and say yes to God. Yes, 100%. Yes, God, I will do whatever it is that you need me to do. Yes, I will create the content. Yes, I will make the video. And that is my desire. My desire for you is that you do the same. My desire for you is that when the day comes and you stand before the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, that he will be able to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. And he won't be able to bring up, you were supposed to reach 1,000 people, but you didn't because you were fearful. You barely made it because you wanted to compromise all the time. You barely made it because you didn't fulfill the will that I had for your life. I desire each and every single one of us to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. If you guys don't get anything else from today's episode, is this: God understands you. He knows how you feel. And even when we feel like he doesn't, he does. And he's always there waiting to comfort you, to hold you, to uplift you, and to encourage you. Because he has experienced life on this earth. He has experienced every emotion that we have felt. Betrayal, being stabbed in the back, sadness, grief. He has experienced it. And because he has, he understands you and he knows you through and through. So, I hope that you will continue to join me on this Twisted 20s journey, this coming into womanhood journey. But I also hope that you will continue to be encouraged. Despite my own downfalls, despite my own hurdles, despite my own hiccups in life, despite it all, I still desire to do what God has called for me to do. And I hope that you do too. Join me next week for another episode of the Twisted Twenties podcast. And don't forget, the Coming Into Womanhood series, the first book is out. It is available on Amazon, and it will be available on the twistedtwenties.org website next week. I love you guys. Thank you again for continuing to support me and join me on this Twisted Twenties journey. Peace, love, and blessings. T. Louise.